Welcome to the first of our texturing videos for our skateboarder character. We're going to need to apply what are called texture coordinates to our character before we can start actually creating textures for him. And what we're going to be using is a modifier called the UnwrapUVW modifier. So let's get this set up here. So first of all, I'm going to do this. I'm going to hide mesh smooth. I'm going to turn on edge faces, and I'm going to maximize this viewport here. Oops, there we go. Let's get him going here. And I'm going to maximize this viewport just right down here in this viewport button area. Maximize viewport. And by doing that, then we can just focus on our character. Now I'm using an orthographic viewport. You notice. And you know, I probably mentioned several times before that most of the time you don't want to rotate it or around an orthographic viewport, but in this case it's like the perfect viewport to do it in. So let's go ahead and get started on this guy. What this involves is, oh, and also one of the other things we want to do real quick here, let's get this going. We want to collapse our symmetry modifier now into our editable poly. There's no more symmetrical stuff or mirrored stuff that we need to do to the modeling of our character. If we're going to do any more things to our character, we're going to probably want to make him a little asymmetrical, you know, if anything at all. And so we can go ahead and collapse this modifier into the editable poly by right-clicking on the modifier. Make sure you're just getting the symmetry modifier. We do not want to collapse the mesh smooth modifier. So make sure you're right-clicking on the symmetry modifier, and then it's selected. Okay. And we say collapse to, not collapse all, but collapse to. Very, very important. I'm stressing this because if you collapse your mesh smooth into that, you know, you want to be aware of that and undo that right away. But we want to collapse to, which means it's only going to collapse the symmetry, and it's going to give you this warning because sometimes you really don't want to collapse modifiers, but in this case we do. And we'll say yes. And now you'll see that now the mesh smooth is still there, but the editable poly doesn't have the symmetry in there, and we no longer have a symmetry modifier. It's all one complete object. Okay. All right. So we can get going on this now. So the next thing we want to do is select our editable poly. Remember, the mesh smooth, unless I say otherwise, always stays at the top of the modifier stack here. Okay. Modifier list, if you want to call it that, but the technical term is the modifier stack. So we select the editable poly, and by doing that, and make sure we don't have any sub-objects selected, so make sure it looks like this. We shouldn't see any sub-objects highlighted. Then we go down here and we get our UnwrapUVW modifier. UnwrapUVW modifier, not the UVW map modifier, which is right below it, but the UnwrapUVW map modifier. Okay, so select that. You'll notice that right away it gives us some sort of, you know, default mapping coordinates for our character. That we don't want these. This is not what we want at all. So we're going to just go ahead and right away turn off those green ones because they can be distracting by going down to display and unchecking the map seam button. Okay? We're going to leave this one, the peel seam, checked so that we can see our blue seams as we begin to make them. So what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to be dividing our character up into different pieces, and not literally, I mean, but separating it out for mapping coordinates. Our character is obviously three-dimensional, and there's parts that are sticking out like arms and legs and fingers and stuff like that. And you know, we can't flatten that out, which is what we need to do, without dividing it up into pieces that can be flattened out, and that's really what the whole purpose of this is. And it makes unique mapping coordinates for our character that we can then use to create textures and apply textures to, more importantly. Okay? All right, let's get with it. So the first thing we need to do in the unwrap is go to edge mode so that we can see these buttons. We can't see these buttons. They don't become visible unless edge mode is on. Okay? And what we're going to be doing is working with the point-to-point seam button. And it's pretty straightforward. Once you get going, I think you'll find it'll go pretty quickly. Okay? So what we're going to do here is we're going to think about how we want to separate this out. And let's zoom in really tight right away. All right. And we're going to start on this area down here. Let's start in the back here. And we're going to, in fact, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here just for a second. I want to select a vertex on our character just for a second here. Just so that we can rotate around a little more easily and see what we're doing. So it's going to be a little bit of a challenge in some of these places. We actually have to go down inside of the neck here and create a seam. That's going to go up the back of the head, and we're going to do one of the easier ones. Once we get this part done here, it'll be easy anyway. All right, get this positioned in such a way that I can actually see what I want to do here. I want to see these edges. You'll notice that I have edge faces on, by the way. Very important that we have edge faces on so we can actually see the edges that we're going to be working with. All right, so now I can get out of vertex mode, and I can go back into edge mode here, and click on the point-to-point seam button and begin. And while we have this thing going, you'll see it looks sort of like it did when we were doing like cutting and stuff like that, although we're not cutting, we're just creating seams. But we can actually rotate around while we do this. And so I'm going to go there, and you see the blue line that's being created here. We go up the back of the head. And the nice thing about this is that it tries to follow a logical path, sort of like the cut tool does, except a much more logical path, because we know that we're only going to be working with edges, so it's going to follow an edge path. So what that's going to do essentially is, once we go around the inside of the collar, which is going to be the next biggest challenge, right around inside of here, it's going to allow the head to flatten out from the back forward, and so that the face will end up being basically flat. Okay, and what we'll do also is we'll create a seam going down this way. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. We'll start with, because we want the face to be, fairly flat for us. So, and by the way, I right-clicked to get out of it temporarily so I could go to a different area. So I'm going to start right under the chin right there. In fact, I think I'll start right here and go down. The nice thing about this is it does try to follow a logical path, so as soon as I can find that, there we go. As soon as I can find that area where I want to start, which is right there inside the shirt. Let's try that again. And rotate around and come right up to there. It should have made a nice seam right around there. Okay, now here comes the tricky part. You got to get down inside of here, but the nice thing about this is that we should have a nice even row of edges. That's another really important reason why we want to have nice even edges when we're working on our modeling. But I'm going to start right there, and literally I should be able to go all the way over to here, and it should have made a nice seam all the way around there. See that? So as long as you can get to the main verts, or the points where the edges are divided, then you're going to find that it's not going to be too terribly difficult. So we'll start there and do the other side, because we have to separate literally the head. There we go. Whoop, that didn't work that time. Let's try doing this. Let's try that one more time. Click. Let's see if we can go all the way around here. Like we did before, we should. No, it's not wanting to do it this time. Let's go to the other direction. So let's go from here. In fact, let's just try and see if we can get down inside of here. Interesting how it's wanting to be a little difficult, on this side, when it worked just fine, before. So there we go. Let's see if we can get around there. Nope, it's not wanting to do it. Okay, so let's zoom out just a little bit. This is one of these kinds of things where sometimes we have to work a little harder than we want to, but it's just the way it goes. Zoom in a little tighter. And I'm going to try to go from here to there, and that's not a problem. See if I can get down inside of here. That's an awkward kind of place to see. Now there we go, to there. So we're having to go the hard route a little bit to make this happen. But that's all right, as long as we can make it happen. There we go. Could have been that I was trying to go to a vertex. Difficult to get to. There we go. And actually, you know, it might have worked the first time around. It's just it was difficult to see up. No, we got a problem here. This went up. So we have a little problem here. Yeah, take a look at that. See? All right, now that's a good opportunity for me to show you how you can edit seams. So right next to the point-to-point seam button is the Edit Seams button. Okay? And literally, all you do is you hold down the Alt key. If you want to delete some seams, you hold down the Alt key with that Edit Seams button selected, and you click on it, and it deletes that seam. It's like it would if you were deleting something else that you had selected. Let's see if I can get that one. I might have to go around this direction here. So naturally, we're starting off with one of the most difficult areas here. But we'll see what we can do here. Let's see if I can get to it that way. Yep, there we go. Let's Control Z that part. Let's see if I can get to this right there. Come on. See if I can make a selection. There we go. You can also do it by making a selection. Usually I just have to click on it, but all right. And then we don't want this seam going upward here either. See what I'm saying? That's going up. And then there's another little couple of seams on these two edges right here. Click on that one. In fact, I think what I'll do is I'm just going to go with selection on those guys. There we go. And hopefully we should still have our seam going through here. Sometimes it's hard to see it, but there's one really easy way to test this right now. If that is working right now, then we should only be able to select the head in the UnwrapUVW. So we're going to select polygons, and this is something we're going to need to do soon anyway. So let's go check this. Click on Expand Polygon to Selection, Polygon Selection to Seams. And so right now we're just going to select that and say, nope, see, we don't have it. We got a gap in there, so we got to fix that. Otherwise, it would have only selected the head if that was working all the way around there. So we got to go in there and fix that. Go back to point-to-point seam. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? This is what I'm going to do. We're going to try to make this easier for ourselves. How's that? Let's do it this way. There's more than one way to do these things. It's just a matter of decision. It's a little puzzle, like when we're modeling and stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from here up to here. Okay, now that gave us a seam going all the way up to the top of the collar. Okay, so now we should be able to do the same thing in the front. I'm going to go from here up to here, and that should have given. Nope, that didn't work. We're going through somehow. You know what? I just noticed something. We got a vertex. And say yes. It's okay to move vertices around. You just don't want to remove any vertices while you're doing this stuff. There we go. I'm going to pull that in. That's just not a good thing. Once in a while, we're going to find those little errors that we didn't catch earlier on. All right, let's go back to. Now, you may or may not have had that problem, you know, because I made that mistake, but hopefully you didn't. If you did, then you know where to look. So we're going to go back to edge. And we got this part back here going, okay? Let's see if we can't make a seam. In fact, maybe we did. Let's see if we can go all the way around the collar now. So I'm going to go from, get the point-to-point seam button. I'm going to go from around here to there, and then all the way to there. Okay. This will work just fine too. We're just going to have that little extra little part in there. Okay, so let's do the same thing here. Although we have to get rid of the seams going on this side here, otherwise it'll be uneven. So let's get rid of those guys, and we can do that just by doing our edit seam and selecting by dragging a selection. That'll be a little easier. So I'm going to hold down the Alt key, and I'm going to make a selection there, and I'm going to make a big selection right there, and I'm going to make a selection right there, and there we go. Now we should be able to go around the outside of the collar here. So let's go from here to here to here to here. to here and then to there. And I could have probably gone all the way around. All right, now we should be in pretty good shape. So if I now go out of point-to-point seam and go to polygon, we have to select polygon to have this button available. See, edges, point-to-point seam, but the expand polygon selection to seam is not available until we go into polygon inside the UnwrapUVW. We do not want to be going inside the editable poly unless there's an actual problem. So let's go ahead and select a polygon anywhere on the character's head, and then when we expand, now we're talking. That's what we were looking for before. We only want the head area to be selected. Okay? So what's going to happen now is that this head is now going to be separate from the body as far as a mapping coordinate is concerned. And it's also because of this seam going down from the upper forehead all the way down to the bottom of the neck, essentially, and up to the collar. It's all going to allow this back part to unwrap forward and create a flat pelt map. That's literally what it's called, so that we can then, have our textures work with that. Okay? All right, so we're on our way. That was one of the harder things we're going to be doing. So we got the hard stuff out of the way first. It's sort of like, making sure you eat your broccoli or something. Well, actually, I like broccoli. Let's say Brussels sprouts. Eat your Brussels sprouts first. And then you can have your dessert later, right? So let's go ahead and start working on the rest of this. So let's do an easy section here. Let's work on the shirt. Okay? And we're going to need to have a front and a back to our shirt so that the front can flatten out and the back can flatten out. And what we're going to do is kind of like what we did with the collar, but it should be a little easier because it's more open. Okay? But we're going to start at this top seam right here. Okay? Just like there would probably be a seam on your t-shirt anyway, So let's get point-to-point seam here. We're going to start right where there is a pelt map, or sorry, a point-to-point seam right here. We always want to make sure that we're connecting these seams. So from here, and I'm going to go like all the way down there and see it follows the logical flow of edges. All right. And so now we're going to rotate up in here. And the best thing to do would be to go all the way up inside of the shirt. And so we're going to do that. We're going to actually continue up, and it should be pretty easy because we should be able to see inside of here pretty well. So I'll go from here to here, and then I'm going to go all the way around the inside of the arm here. Now, unfortunately, because we don't have a symmetry modifier, we're going to have to do this on both sides, of the shirt. But and so I'm going to go from here to here to here to there, and it's just going to follow. Whoops, nope, I don't want to go there. Control Z. I want to follow the arm, so I'm going to go from there to there, and then around over here to there, and it should have gotten it. So let's go and take a look. So if I zoom in a little bit here, you can see the seam. It looks like it's following around the inside at the upper part of the arm, inside of the shirt. Okay. All right, and then what we're going to do is we're going to go from, say, this point to here to here to here, and then we can follow this down. And then what we'll do is we'll go around to the inside seam right here, and we're going to go all the way around this seam on the shirt. Oops, that time it wanted to jump to that spot there, but we don't want it to do that, so undo that. Need to get a little bit better look at this. There we go. And all the way around. The trickiest part really is just rotating around in this thing most of the time. And notice I'm going on the end. The second edge is sort of more at the very bottom, or sort of inside of the shirt. Looks like there we go. And this seam right here represents the side of the shirt there, so we want to go up in the same place, so right in the very middle. So we're going to go right from this seam right here, go up, follow it all the way to there. Okay. Zoom in on that area, go all the way around the hang on a sec. Let's make sure we're doing it just like we did on the other one. Okay. So all we're really going to do is we're not going to go around the outside of the shirt. We're going to go around on the arm. So we need to go inside of here, and then really tight, so we can see what we're doing. There we go. And I should be able to start there and just go right to there and go right around the inside. Where the arm is extruded out from this shirt part here and back to there. And then of course we need to go up the shoulder just like we did before. So we can start from here. We can start at the top if we wanted to, but let's start from here. Go from here to here. Okay. I love it that it follows this natural row of edges as long as it is logical. If it's not logical, it's not going to know what to do, and it's going to go all over the place. But it's a nice logical row of edges. Now let's test this part. We should have a front to our shirt, and we should have a back to our shirt. Wait a minute, let's go in here. Yeah, we should have a front and a back to our shirt. And we're going to test it the same way that we did before. So let's deselect, let's go in out of here, deselect those polygons. Select a polygon on the front of the shirt here. And when we click on this selection to seam button, it should only highlight the polygons on the front of the shirt. And sure enough, there we go. Okay, let's test the back. Should be just fine too. And here we go. That's exactly what we're looking for. Now, are you getting the idea now that this is going to be one panel, so to speak? This is going to be another panel, but they're not really panels. They're called pelt maps. And what we're doing is dividing our character up into multiple pelt maps that can flatten out naturally and nicely and create nice mapping coordinates for our character. Otherwise, if we tried to, if we didn't do this, it would be a jumbled up mess of vertices and UVWs. UVWs are directly related to the XYZs of the vertices on our character. Okay, so let's go ahead, and now we got the head and the upper part of the torso done. Let's work on the arms. Okay, the whole torso basically we got done. Let's get out of here. Let's go to point-to-point seam. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in a different direction with arms and the hands. We're going to separate the hands from the arms so that things will separate out a little bit better. So let's do that first. Let's just do the easy part first here. We're going to start somewhere on the hand at the top of the, just right where the wrist is. And go around. Go back around here, over here. And all I'm doing is holding on the Alt key and rotating around, even though this point-to-point seam button is selected. There we go. That's going to separate the hand from the arm. Okay, the arm has already got a pelt seam around the top, but we need to have a pelt seam on the arm to flatten it out, and it needs to just be one piece. Okay. The reason why we're doing that, well, you'll see. We're going to start inside of here, and all we need to do is just make one pelt seam going down the inside of the arm to there. Okay, and it followed a logical path. See what we did? Almost a logical path, not quite. Well, yeah, I did. Well, no, I didn't. Let's undo that. Control Z. I really should have started in a different spot. I should have started right here. We may as well follow the same logical path that we did with the shirt. So let's rotate this in here. And start there, go there, go here, and then go there. There we go. So now what should happen with this arm, let's see what I'm talking about here. The whole arm should get selected when we get out of here. And click on one polygon, do that. The whole arm is selected, but what it's going to do is it has a seam down here, so it's going to flatten outward. like you take a knife right here and skin the guy's arm or whatever. That's basically why it's called pelt mapping, because it's like, you know, I guess, you know, I don't know if anybody hunts or not, I don't, but I do understand the concept of skinning, you know, an animal. And so the idea is that you know, you want to flatten out the animal skin. Well, it's kind of the same concept. That's why it's called pelt mapping. Okay, now for the hand, it's a little different. We're going to be going this way with the hand, because the hand is sort of flat already, but we need to have two parts, the palm and the upper part of the hand. Okay, so we need to go, this is going to be a little bit more of a challenge because we're going to have to go around inside the fingers, but it shouldn't be too terribly bad. So let's go ahead and grab our point-to-point seam, and we're going to start right here, and we can go all the way down here because that's a nice even row. And for the most part, this should be pretty easy, really. And zoom in nice and tight. So, as I said, you know, if you see me moving around and you're wondering how I'm doing this stuff, I'm holding down the Alt key, obviously, to rotate around the character, and I'm holding down the Control key if I need to center it or move it around in the viewport. Okay, so now we're going to go from here to there, and it follows that natural row because it's very even. And then I'm going to go from here all the way up to the middle, and that should have followed a nice even path also. You can see that point-to-point seam going all the way up there. And I'm going from right here all the way down. Now, if I was doing this in the perspective view, believe it or not, it might be a little wiggy, because the perspective view does distort things a bit, because it's trying to simulate that real perspective, 3D, real-world quality that doesn't really exist in a two-dimensional surface. So that's why we're working in the orthographic view when we're doing this kind of stuff. That's kind of the same for cutting. It's probably better if you're going to do a lot of cutting in awkward areas like this to be in the orthographic viewport, regardless of whether it's a perfectly front or left viewport, or if it's just a, you know, a rotated viewport that is essentially an orthographic viewport. So we'll start from here, go all the way to right there. That should be good. You want to always check your work. Don't assume it's right. So I'm looking to make sure that those seams went all the way down, and then we go over to here. It's easy to see that one. I'm going to go all the way up to here, and then the thumb will be easy. Go right to there. We're just following this whole line of stuff, and I should be able to go all the way up there. And that's because it was a nice, easy edge to follow. All right, so now we have the hand done here. Okay. Now, guess what? We need to do the other arm just the same way. So let's get out of polygon mode. Obviously, we could do this in polygon mode too, but let's go to edge mode. Okay, and well, actually, we probably should check our hand just to make sure. It doesn't hurt to check. So let's go back to polygon mode. Get in here and select a polygon on the palm of the hand area. Click that. That part of the hand is selected just as it should be, and nothing else. And then expand this, and just the top of the hand is selected. So those are going to be separate pelt maps. All right, so let's go ahead and do the arm. Well, let's go ahead and go around the outside of the hand first, at the wrist area. Just like we did before. Around. You know, I probably could have gone all the way around just in one fell swoop, but just to be safe. And so you can see what's going on here. All right. So good. Okay, now let's go ahead and do the arm. Just like we did before. We're going to go on the inside of the arm. And well, let's just get this rotated like we did before. There we go. Okay, so and I'm going to start right here. Go right here. Rotate up so I can see where this really should be going, to right there. I don't want to make some goofy mistake here. There we go. That's the inside of the arm. Let's check the arm, make sure it's okay. So when we select this, let's go to point-to-point seam. So when we select the polygon and expand it, it should only select the arm. And the arm will fold outward. Okay, great. And of course, why am I going on the inside of the arm instead of the outside of the arm? Well, most of the time our arms, you know, you don't see the inside of the arm as much as you do the outside, I guess. And it shouldn't matter with the type of materials we're going to be applying to this character anyway. But, you know, it's always, you know, you want to think about logical things like that. All right, let's go to point-to-point seam again, and let's go ahead and go through the fingers. And we'll do the easy part first. We're starting with the thumb since it's facing us. We'll go all the way from here to here. here to there, go from here to there, go from here to there, go from here to there, and then the tricky part, going up inside of here to there, looks good, and to there, and I can see it looks good, okay, and then to here, and to there, okay, that looks good, go from here to there, and all the way up the hand. Okay, so now we're good. We're in good shape there. So let's just check that. Get out of here. Select those. Deselect those. And then expand. Just the top of the hand is selected, just as it should be. Let's get a polygon on the bottom. Expand. Perfect. All right, we're on our way. We're in pretty good shape. Pretty good shape here. Now let's. We're going to work on the legs, and of course, what we're going to want to do is separate the pants and the shoes, and we're actually going to need to separate the soles of the shoes from the top of the shoes. That's going to make it easier for us to work this out here. So let's just do the same sort of a similar thing that we did before, except that the pants are going to be sort of like done just like the t-shirt. We're going to go around the bottom of the pants, okay, near the outside edge of the jeans, okay, and then we're going to go down this seam right here, and then up and down and up, and so the front of the pants will be one pelt map, back of the pants will be another pelt map, okay. So let's get started with that. We're going to start on the outside. Now, in fact, let's do this. Let's make it easy on ourselves to start with. Let's go ahead and go around let's go around the pants seam on the bottom here. So let's go here. We'll just start right there. We have to do this on both pants. So let's just follow this edge. That one kind of jumped underneath there, which is not necessarily a bad thing. However, let's be consistent. Undo that, and let's go right to one that we want to go to, and then maybe we can now go to here. There we go. Yeah, we want to be consistent. We don't want to have these funny diversions, in other words, of things that are edges that are making funny detours, any more than we want that to happen on our when we were modeling. That was something we always were paying attention to. We didn't want to create funny directional changes unless they were intended, like when we're doing stuff like this on the pants and whatnot. Okay, so let's do the same thing on this leg as well, and just get that out of the way. Here. And that should be connected there. Okay, now we're going to go up the side of the pants, and that's sort of where a seam would be, a real seam on the pants anyway. So we're just going to start here, go all the way up to there. Okay, zoom in, rotate this around so we can see up inside of there, and we need to go all the way to there. There we go. All right, now let's go ahead and do the inside seam, and that's going to be pretty easy too. You just start like right there, in the middle of the leg, go down to here, to there, and just see if we can hit that like that. See if that followed the right path. Zoom out just a little bit. Looks like it did to me. Okay, good. Let's do the inside of this. The other leg, since we're in here already. Let's start in the front. It seems like a little easier to get it in front. Start the same general place. Go to there. Rotate around so you can see a little bit better. I think we want to go all the way to there. And then from there, we should be able to same spot, which should be like right about there. They should match up. Looks like they do. Alright, now let's do the outside. The outside's pretty easy. I believe it was the same place right there, right? Yep. Keep it consistent. And then just go from here, and I should be able just to go right to there. There we go. Follow that edge nicely. All right, now let's test the pants. Make sure that they're in good shape. Point seam. Select. Oh, oops. Just realized I'm still in edit seam over here. Let's do that. Let's undo. I must have clicked on edit seam for some reason. That was odd. Wasn't thinking. There we go. Get out of there, and then click on polygon here, and then front of the pants, just like we want. Great. So the back of the pants should work just great too. Back of the pants, just like we want. Perfect. We're in great shape. Okay, now for the shoes, feet, whatever you want to call them, we're going to create a seam going up the back, starting at the sole, okay, and connecting to this edge right here. What that will do is allow, especially when we separate the soles out, that'll allow the top of the shoes to fold outward, okay, without having to create too many extra seams. So all I really need to do is start right here and go right to there. And that should have created a seam. We'll find out when we test it. That should have created a seam that goes all the way up inside there. See that? It did. So that's perfect. So then what we're going to do is we're going to go around the bottom of the soles. And we're almost done with our, at least with this part at this stage. And then what I'll do is we'll separate this video out into two parts here, and we'll go over how to actually get this set up to be flattened out and everything, and have our, so let's do the same thing here, and have our UVWs, our pelt maps all ready for us. So go right there, and then go right to there. All right. And go around. All right, let's test this out. Get out of here. Select a polygon. Only the bottom of the foot is selected. Excellent. Select a polygon. Only the bottom of the foot is selected. Excellent. Select the polygon here. The whole top of the shoe should be selected. And it is. And that will flatten out pretty nicely. You know, now that I'm thinking about it, wouldn't be a bad idea. Let's do this. Wouldn't be a bad idea, because it does change direction abruptly right here, so it flattens out a little nicer. The more we can flatten them out nicer without the edges and vertices being bunched together, the better off we're going to be. So I'm going to do one more cut, or not cut, one more point-to-point seam from here to here, and from here to here. And that's not going to affect the selection of the polygons here. You'll notice it's still going to, you know, select the whole shoe. It's just going to allow that shoe to flatten out a little bit better by doing that. Okay, so that should be good right there. All right, so now we have all of our seams made. We've tested everything as we went, so we can be pretty confident that our seams are all made. The thing that's kind of nice about this also is that we actually have you know, a hole in the mouth right there, and a hole in the eyes, and that actually makes the face flatten out better too, believe it or not. You're going to see how odd it looks once they're flattened out, and you're going to laugh probably. Everybody does. I do too. And so that's gonna make it, you know, work a little bit better. All right. So next video will be getting these flattened out and actually creating our UVs. We've got our pelt mapping, pelt seams made, so that we can actually do our pelt mapping now. So that's the next step.